Hello, hello, hello. I'm Chelsey.
And I'm Sammy. And this is
Deepish.
Hi, you guys. We have Aly Egan on today. You guys are going to love this episode. I still wish it was longer. We recorded for 3 hours and I was like, wait.
And then we talked.
Hang out?
Yeah, she was leaving and we're just like, wait, okay, so tell me more. Tell me more. Her story is insane.
She's been through so much.
Yeah, so it's her journey through infertility and obviously so much more. But
infertility, loss. She now has a surrogate and is getting towards the tail end of her happy ending.
her surrogate's pregnant with twins.
With twin girls. Hearing her tell her whole story from start to finish with everything that she's been through, everything she's tried, all the hell she's been through makes this time that she's in right now, the lows are low and the highs are freaking high. Oh, it just makes you feel her resilience and just this love for life.
Yes, and you can just see she just came in so sweet, bubbly, and I'm just like, people can go through some massive stuff.
Yep.
And still be like, bing. And she's definitely one of those lights.
Yeah, she is. This was our first time meeting her.
I know, and I'm like, okay, we're friends, right? One's lunch.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, her energy is contagious, and it really was so fun to sit down and talk to her. And you guys all need to go follow her right now.
Follow her story.
Story is crazy. And also, she is just getting to the sweetest part of her life, and I can't wait to see what comes and watch her be a mom to those twins and live out her dreams. The love that you can gain for people and the empathy that you can have for them, it is so fun. Just connecting to people's stories and wanting them to thrive and live their best lives. Here is Aly.
Aly, welcome
Hello.
to Deepish. How are you feeling?
Thank you. So excited, a little nervous, but
Yes.
I'm very excited.
I know, you're so cute. You walked in and I was like, okay, we're already best friends. So darling.
I love it.
And
I
yeah,
love
you
it.
give off the best energy and vibes. So I'm so
are
happy to have
so
you.
Nice. We're so happy to have you here.
Okay, so
excited.
I want to know a little bit about you. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yes. So I grew up in Alpine. I moved when I was 15 to Provo. So I grew up in Alpine, went to school in Alpine until 15. And then I went to Provo High School.
Was that a harsh transition, Alpine to Provo?
It was a big jump. It was very different. Alpine is its own little world, kind of.
Yeah.
But I was so ready. I had tons of friends in Provo. I had tons of friends in Alpine as well. But I was just ready for a little bit of a change. And Provo High felt like a breath of fresh air for me. It was just so different. I loved all the different cultures. It was very different.
Yeah, because in my mind, Alpine's bougie, white. All of Utah's white, but it's like extra.
Yeah.
Is that your perception a little bit?
Yes. I know it's different for everyone, but that's pretty accurate. Everyone was pretty much bougie, white, LDS. Everyone was it was similar walks of life, which is, again, is great and fine. But I loved the diversity that Provo High brought. I actually moved into Timpview boundaries and was supposed to go to Timpview, but Provo High, I got just more of a mesh of people. I loved it.
Yeah, I feel like if you would go from Alpine to Timpview High School, it'd be the same energy because Timpview's very like that.
Yes.
And then Provo High seems more chill and
Yes, I loved it. I loved high school. I wouldn't go back by any means,
1,000%.
but I had a great high school experience. So I feel lucky because I know a lot of people are like, I hated high school. I loved it.
Did you play sports? Or?
I danced,
Okay.
but I mean, dance at Provo High was not serious.
yeah.
We weren't that good, but it was just fun. It was just like a group of friends. It was the best.
Where did you go after Provo High? Did you go to college or?
Yes. So I just went right across the way to BYU for one semester and just hated that. I hated it.
Okay, explain why. I have my things about BYU, but what was your take?
I mean, again, obviously there's a lot more diversity at BYU. There's a lot of cultures there, but kind of same thing. It was the same pond. I mean, again, I was going to college literally across the street from my high school, and I don't know. I just don't feel like it was a big enough change for me. Yeah. My dad actually worked at BYU from the time I was 12 to like 24. So that chunk of my life. And so I was just immersed in BYU all the time. So I just didn't feel like, oh, this is exciting. It was just like, oh, I've been coming here all the time since I was 12. So it wasn't my own thing.
Yeah, you know? You have this idea of college in your head and you're like, this is not what I was expecting it to be.
Totally.
So you did one semester and then did you go somewhere else?
I went to hair school.
Okay.
I went to
Love
hair
that.
school, the Utah girly thing to do. I went to a really small school down in Spanish Fork.
Okay.
Way down, like you take the Benjamin exit, like it's out there. So I did that, and I worked at a salon while I was going to hair school, and I met my husband at the salon.
Wait, what do you mean? Like you were cutting his hair? Or
No.
what?
So I was just front desk, and he came in. So a friend of his that he went to high school with worked with me, and they always would say they're cousins. They're not really. They have a relation through marriage or something. But he came in because she would get him like 10% off on hair gel or something. And he came in, she was on her break, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll go get her. And I was like, Jenny, there's a cute guy out there. Like he's here to see you. And I was like, of course she gets him. He's so cute. And anyways, come to find out they're not like that at all. And he asked her about me and was like, what's her name? And anyways, added me on Facebook.
We love that.
Yeah. And we went to sushi on our first date.
Wait,
and
so
like,
he adds you
ever
on
since-
Facebook and what? He messaged
Yeah,
you?
he messaged me, and he was like, hey, we should get together. I had kind of sworn off dating for a little bit. I just was like, I was bouncing around, and I was like, I don't know if I want to get into something. And my grandma was in town at the time, and I'm like, my Grammy's here from Dallas. Like, oh yeah, we'll have to figure something out. And I just kind of kept pushing it off. But he messaged me a couple more times and was like, I'd really love to hang out or take you out.
Crushing on you.
He was. And I mean, I was crushing on him, but I just needed kind of the push. And I was at work late with Jenny, with that girl, and she was like, you need to call Matt. And I left work. It was like 9:30, and I called him. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to get together? And he's like, yeah. So I just went to his house, and the rest is history. It's just
Started dating from that point on.
Started dating from that point on. 2 or 3 months in, I was like, this is different. This is really different.
Really?
It took him longer. I said I love you first, and he literally didn't say it back.
Did he give you the thank you? Or
Yes.
No,
it was
oh my
like
gosh.
that. And it was like, I care so much about you. I was like, oh man. But it kind of affirmed to me that I did love him, because I didn't feel shot down. I was just like, okay, he's taking a minute. And it was actually like, oh, okay. I don't know. I felt like, okay, I can wait. He's not there yet, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I waited. I mean, it was like 3 months before he said it to me,
Which
it
is
was
like
a minute.
But, so when he did say, he's like, actually, you know what?
Like, do you
this
know
girl.
what? I actually do love you. When he said it, I knew that he really meant it. And I love that. I feel like it meant more, knowing that it wasn't just like I have to say it back type of thing. And that's him. What you see is what you get. And he's not going to BS it. And it's one of his best qualities, I think.
Yes. So then how long did you guys date before you got engaged?
We dated exactly a year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Utah standards, all 4 seasons.
Even then, isn't it just a gamble? Even then, even when you've dated so long, it's just kind of like, all right,
Who are you?
Who are we? And especially in Utah, when you're so young. We got married I was 21, he was 24. And I mean, that's so young. But like at our wedding, he only had 2 friends to do the garter toss because everyone was married. Like he was 24. Anyways,
It's funny because I got married at 22 and half of my friends were married and I felt old.
yeah, I didn't feel old, but I felt like he was old.
At 24.
Yeah, 24. I was like, oh, he's one of the last ones. And
That's
looking back, I'm like,
crazy.
oh my gosh, that's skewed. That is skewed perception of reality. But I mean, we were like so in love with each other and so ready. And you grow together, and I don't know. It's easily the best decision I've ever made.
Totally. So you get engaged after a year, and then did you get married like
Yes.
right away?
So we started dating officially in January, and then in January, it was the same day, January 28th, he asked me to be his girlfriend. And then January 28th, he asked me to be his wife.
Cute.
And then it was the best. And then we got married in May. So we had somewhat of a long engagement for
I
Utah
love
standards.
that.
We got married in May. We got married in Provo.
Where is he
He's from Alpine. So we actually didn't know each other growing up. So crazy. He lived just a couple streets away from my grandparents' house.
That's
but we were
crazy.
far enough apart in school. We're 4 years apart in school. So you just don't know those people. We went to the same elementary school, but he's in 6th grade and I'm in like 2nd grade. It's just
That's
not
so cute though. So crazy that
Yeah.
there's those crossing paths.
Yes. So my grandpa's an artist, and he actually did a painting for us. I'll have to send you guys a picture of it after this. He did a custom painting for us, and it's the town of Alpine, and it has my house and Matt's house and the little roundabout. And anyways, there's 2 cars, and my husband drove a red Jeep in high school. I didn't know him. My mom drove a white minivan. That's what I was riding around in when Matt was in his red Jeep. And it just has all over the painting the 2 cars passing each other.
That is so
it's
cute.
like the best. I know. I actually get them too. It's the most special thing we have. It's like the focal point of our house, and it's just our love story in a painting. And so yeah, I mean, it's like the, what is it, the invisible thread or whatever. Is that like the
string?
Yes. I'm not a major Swiftie, but I do love the invisible string. I'm like, okay, that's us. Like we were connected.
Wow.
So yeah, it was meant to be.
That's so sweet.
Yes.
So how long were you guys married before you were like, okay, let's start trying to have kids?
So we see at the beginning, it feels like so long ago that I'm like, oh my gosh.
What year did you guys get married?
We got married in 2017. And then I think it was end of 2018 where we were like, let's maybe start trying. And I didn't know that I had PCOS at the time, but I do have, it's called PKU. It's a very, very rare genetic disorder. And basically my body can't break down high amounts of protein. So I'm supposed to only eat 11 grams of protein a day, which is absolutely psychotic. So it's a newborn screen, the little heel prick for babies. It's one of the things that's screened for that. So my parents got a call. I was 8 days old and they were like, hey, something came back abnormal and she has PKU. And so my mom had to stop nursing, give me this special formula. And then my whole life, I just had to be really, really strict. And my sweet, amazing angel mom, now as a mom, I'm like, how did she do that? She weighed all of my food. Like if she gave me a mashed banana, she had to weigh it before and then give it to me and then weigh what was left to see how much I ate. So crazy. So I did that my whole life. And the damage that can be done if you exceed your protein limits, it's like irreversible brain damage. Which
are you kidding
it's
me?
Crazy.
Right away? Or
no,
is it...
I think it takes some time to build up. But
if you ate too much protein, had a super high protein meal on accident or something, would you feel sick or anything? Or
yeah, so the immediate things are like headaches and then also mood, just like irritability and overstimulation, like just like I don't just like a little snappy maybe. I don't know, maybe that's just my personality, but but
it's my PKU.
Yeah, I'm like, it's fine, I'm not mean, it's my PKU. But that is definitely something I notice if I eat too much protein. But if I was never diagnosed as a baby, and PKU was only found in 1958, I think it was, so if I was born just 50 years earlier, I wouldn't have been diagnosed. And those people are in homes and not functioning. Wow. And so I have a lot of gratitude for the medical world for a lot of reasons, but a big part of PKU for women is called maternal PKU. And basically it's very vital when you're pregnant to keep your protein levels, your phenylalanine levels exactly where they need to be, or else it can mess with the development of the baby. It doesn't cause losses or anything like that, but it can cause them to have issues the way they develop. So I knew that it was going to be really serious for me. It was weighing every single thing I ate. I'd make a salad and it would be like, okay, cut up the lettuce and weigh that and then write it down, and cut up onions and weigh that and write it down. And then I'd have to calculate how much and everything. So I knew going into trying to conceive was going to be wild because I had to track everything so that I could send weekly things to my dietitian so that they could look over it, send in weekly blood levels. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be intense. So we were kind of like, let's start at least tightening up my diet because I'd be a little loosey goose.
You're writing down like all this stuff your whole life?
Yes. Yeah, my whole life. And again, that's where my mom comes into play. I just can't imagine like dropping me off at church nursery. It's like she can't have
these cookies.
Yeah.
She cannot.
Goldfish crackers, I think 4 of them is 1 gram of protein. She would send me with things all the time at school, like birthdays. I had my own little birthday box. When kids would have a birthday at school, it would be like, hey, Aly gets her box.
What kind of things are safe for that? Like what kind of things have no protein in them? I don't even know.
Sugar, essentially.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking like, okay, yeah, chips, crackers, carbs, right? But even the fact that goldfish have 1 gram of like that, you don't even think about that.
Yeah, a bag of chips, even like the small ones that you get at Costco, like in the big
the fun
like
size
60,
or whatever.
yeah, those are 2 or 3 grams of protein.
So it just adds up so
fast.
How did that deal with your mental health growing up? Did that affect some like OCD tendencies, compulsions?
Yeah, I feel like it was, and I still struggle with this. Like if I would eat too many of something, or I loved Cheetos as a kid, still do, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But my mom would weigh Cheetos for me. It was always 20 grams of Cheetos. If I was lucky, I could have that in a day. And sometimes I'd go grab a Cheeto from the bag. It was like shame. And I still will get those because I don't eat perfectly. I still have never had meat. I don't do dairy, but sometimes I will have rice, and I'm not supposed to do that. But it's hard when I'm not pregnant. It's, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'll be a little irritable, but like, I'm gonna go get Thai food with my husband. I'm gonna
have normal food.
Yeah, have normal food.
But you have no meat.
Never had meat.
Wow.
So then how do you get the nutrients you need?
That's a good question. I always forget. There's so many layers. Essentially, it's phenylalanine. It's one of the amino acids in protein that I can't have. And so there is a shake, kind of like a protein shake type of thing. It's called formula, but it's a protein shake that you can get. You just drink it and it has all the other amino acids in it that you need in protein besides the one phenylalanine. So I have 4 or 5 packets of that a day, and I think it's equivalent to 20 grams of protein. So I'm getting protein, but I'm not getting the specific amino acid, phenylalanine. So that keeps me full. That's my food. But then it's like fruit, veggies, and then medically engineered food.
You've done that your whole life. Just had to have those to get nutrients.
To get nutrients. And I remember it was never a fight. I connect with a lot of PKU moms on social media, and they'll reach out and be like, my daughter has PKU. I can't get her to drink her formula. And I never struggled as a kid because I knew it just filled me up. I couldn't have a meal without having that, or I was starving. But yeah, I had that my whole life.
So how is your husband?
He's a trooper. A lot of times, and there have been, we'll get into it, but like certain times in life where, you know, I've been preparing for pregnancies, doing IVF stuff, and I'm like, you're on your own. I love you. You are on your own, because I have to be so strict right now that my meal is my priority. And he's great with that. He's like, cool, that's great. I'll make ground beef and rice or whatever. But yeah, he's so supportive. And it's a weird thing explaining it to him. Dating was like, are they going to be down for this?
I know, because they're like, let's go out to
it's hard
Mobetta's. And you're like, no.
Literally can't eat a single thing there. He's a good sport. He'll be like, I want this. And I'm like, well, you can get that, but there's nothing.
Where do you eat out? Where's your go-to?
What's crazy is when I eat out, I'm still eating way more protein than I should. Like way more.
Because it's impossible to
It's
track,
impossible.
Probably.
Yeah. But I love like Cafe Rio, Costa Vida. I just get a veggie salad, no beans, and I get rice on it. I'm not supposed to eat rice. I think like a tablespoon of rice is a gram of protein or something crazy. It just adds up so much.
Which is crazy because the time we live in right now, everything's so high protein.
Yeah.
They try and like, high protein popcorn, high protein this.
Totally.
Like, so it's probably a weird shift of like, no, I need no protein.
Totally. And I'll find products and I'm like, oh, awesome. This is great. And then months later, they're like, we added protein to this because everyone was complaining that it's too low protein. And I'm like, that's actually like the one thing I get. Yeah, I'm like, what about us? But there's medically engineered food. There's companies that make stuff but you have to buy it like online and get it shipped. A bag of like spaghetti pasta, because I can't pasta, flour, eggs. A bag of PKU spaghetti is like $13. Like it's psychotic.
Goodness.
Wow. So that's a huge part of your identity is this condition.
Totally. And it was always like, oh, Aly has that thing. There were years that I struggled with it in my teenage years. It was hard. Now I look back and I'm like, how cute, how niche of me. I have my own little thing. So, you know.
So were your doctors good at educating you how to prepare your body for pregnancy and things?
Yes, they were amazing. I had to send in like weekly blood levels, and I was talking with my doctor weekly, my dietitians weekly. They basically were like, hey, let's do this. We want you to show us that you can keep your levels nice and low and right where they need to be for a couple of months until we kind of give you like the thumbs up. I mean, obviously we could have started trying whenever. We don't need someone's approval, but it was nice for me to have the doctors be like, hey, you're good. Once I buckled down and was like, I'm doing this, it was pretty immediate. I got my levels in check, my phenylalanine levels. And I think it was 2 months of really good levels every week. And they were like, hey, you're good. Go ahead and you can start trying. So we did. And it just wasn't happening. And I feel like every time a couple starts trying for their first baby for the first time, it doesn't happen the first month and you're like, oh, like it's not working. Okay.
How was your PCOS? I know you hadn't been diagnosed at this point yet, but were your cycles always regular? Did you have any symptoms of PCOS?
So I was on birth control from the age of 15 or 16, which I have all sorts of feelings about. But when I started getting periods, like around 15, they were so gnarly. I was doubled over in pain all the time. And I was put on birth control to minimize side effects and whatever. Now in hindsight, I know that a birth control withdrawal bleed is not a period. I didn't have periods. I had birth control withdrawal bleeds. I didn't have a period of my own for, oh my gosh, 12 years. So we pulled birth control, and I wasn't having periods. I feel like my education on how everything was, I didn't know.
That's the thing. Even with Sammy going through her infertility journey, she's saying all these terms and all this stuff. And she's like, well, Chelsey, did you have to worry about this? And I'm like, no, I don't even think about all of these things that go on in your body and this and that.
Especially when you get married so young and you're like, I don't even know what goes
about my body.
Like, you get married, you have babies. This is how it works.
Yeah.
And you don't realize the science behind it and everything. But I feel like with you, something unique about you is you are so in tune with your body because of your PKU.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, I'm used to being in check, getting levels tested, all of that.
Yeah. So I didn't really have a regular cycle, but I didn't really realize that I didn't. You know what I mean?
Or I think that would be a problem.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Now looking back, I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have been on birth control for so long, but you know, what do? You can't go back.
So once you decided to get off birth control, start trying, were you having periods?
No, like none. And so I kind of, I brought that up to an OB, and I think we were like 8 months into trying, and they were like, well, with your PKU, because also that's 8 months of weighing and tracking every single thing I ate.
Being so careful. And it gets really hard and tedious. And I was like, geez, I'm not even pregnant yet. And this is brutal. And then when you're pregnant, it's like game on because there's a baby in there you got to protect. So I went and started Clomid with an OB. They were like, yeah, we can give you Clomid. I didn't even ovulate on it. They can like check and see. And I think a common misconception is that like Clomid worked is like Clomid got me pregnant. It's like, no, Clomid works if it makes you ovulate. And so Clomid just wasn't even making me ovulate. And so I think we were like 10 months in, and they were like, honestly, you can probably go to a fertility center. So
Isn't that so annoying? Oh, that you're doing it for 10 months. Because you went after how long, us?
Probably like 6-7 months. Yeah. But when I went to my doctor, he didn't even put me on Clomid. This is a whole thing, but yeah, I was glad I went when I went.
Yeah, totally. Well, because I feel like there's also another misconception that they'll only take you if you've been trying for a year, which, I mean, in some cases, like, I'm sure they'll be like, oh, okay, try a little longer, give it some time. I was kind of in a situation where they were like, well, if you know something's up and like you have this, other strain, the PKU going on, so let's go in and see if they can find anything. And in my first appointment with the fertility center, they're like, oh, you have PCOS. And I was like, okay. I had no idea. PCOS presents itself so differently in everyone. And I didn't have certain things, so I just didn't know. And so they were like, well, we're going to do the timed intercourse cycles. And they were like, let's do Clomid again. And they added letrozole as well. And so we did Clomid and Femara, I think 2 months, 3 months. And I didn't even ovulate on both of them. It was wild. Then they were like, let's do an IUI. So we went into IUIs, we did 2 of those, and those did not work. I did ovulate, and I think we had to add some like Gonal F. We had to add some booster medications to get me to ovulate.
And how was your PKU during all of those increased hormones and medications? Was it just
brutal. And every time that I would get the news that it didn't work, I'd be like, we're going out. I'm eating rice tonight.
Rice.
I'm eating rice. I'm getting crazy.
Treat yourself.
We would go out and eat, and that was almost just like a release. Like, oh, okay, I can do this. But then it was like, okay, what's next? I never really sat in that. I was just like, okay, what's next? And so I'd get back on the next day and get on my diet. And they recommended doing 3 IUIs usually. And I did 2. And they were like, honestly, you can do another one, but it's probably not going to work. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they recommended jumping to IVF.
Okay.
So that is, as you know, big, it's scary. It's scary.
What were your feelings around that? Did it bring you some hope of I'm a little bit closer to just getting this over with?
Yeah.
But also scary.
Yes. And I listened to y'all's episode, and it is funny because people are like, yay, IVF, that's great. Mm-hmm. And it is like, do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm going to have to do? Yeah, it's exciting, but
that's worst case scenario.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Financial aspect of it, the physical aspect. It's just a lot. It's a lot. But I think more than anything, I was just ready to jump in.
Yeah. Because you're kind of going through, at least for me, so much torture of like delays. And I know you had mentioned like you had gotten hysteroscopies or things like that where it's like, oh, can't try this month. Oh, another month of weighing food and not getting a chance of a baby. Or
exactly
where you're like, okay, I don't care. Give me the shots. Torture me. Take my money. Whatever. Beat me up.
A routing number.
Yeah.
It's so mixed feelings. But I was definitely like, you know what, if this is what's going to do, I don't want to just be in this. And it was so hard because it would feel like if we couldn't do something for a month, it felt like that month was stagnant. Like I felt like nothing was, I don't know. I just felt like I was a blip in space.
Like you're not any closer to this pain going away.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it was just Groundhog Day of a month that you couldn't try. And it was, and I know, you know that. Mm-hmm. Which sucks. I hate
How was your relationship during that first round? Was it?
Yeah. So infertility tests your relationship for sure. I think in some ways it was hard on us, but in some ways it brought us closer together. And I think that IVF, and again, we'll get into this more, but it just shows you how strong you are. You don't have really a choice. You have to decide, okay, am I going to do this or am I not? And if you're doing it, you're doing it. You don't have a choice. And I think it showed me how strong I was and showed Matt how strong I was and vice versa. And I think a lot of times people don't think as much about the men going through it because again, they don't really have to do that much.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah. How do you feel like your husband was able to support you? Because so much of it, especially in your case, is on you where you're like, okay, you're going to Milbetta's. I'm weighing and tracking my food. I'm going through these hormones. Was that hard for you?
It was hard for me. My husband was so good at being like, what can you have today? What can you eat today that I can get you? Or what? And even if it was literally just Sprite or Dr. Pepper or just
mixing up your shake for you.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, well, can you make me my shake? Just little things like that where I didn't feel like I was so alone. Because again, it was mostly on me, but just little things like that, or filling a bath up for me. They're doing my shots for me. And again, I will say this, the men don't have to do much physically, but financially, IVF is a huge burden. And so I think that's another thing that people don't think about, that I'm so, I could cry talking about it. So grateful for my husband because I don't work and I didn't work then. And he was like, yeah, we're going to figure this out and we're going to do it. And that's a big burden on the person who's working. Yeah.
For sure. I have to figure out a way to come up with this money and still pay our bills.
Totally.
It's huge.
Huge.
So then you guys are on the second IUI. You decided to go to IVF.
Yes.
Tell me about that process.
Yeah. So I was so ready. Mixed feelings, but so ready. So first round of IVF, we got 12 embryos and then we sent them for testing and we had 8. So we had 8 genetically normal embryos. Basically just rules out chromosomal abnormalities. You can also see gender. So we had 5 boys and 3 girls to work with. And that felt like plenty because we wanted like 2-3 kids.
Yeah.
So we were like, cool, we've got like 8 shots here. Like that's
like we're gonna have extra.
Totally.
Yeah, what are we gonna do with all these kids?
No, exactly. Felt like more than enough. We were so excited. Did a transfer about 2 months after the egg retrieval, frozen transfer, so I could heal and everything.
So did you get a bunch of eggs?
Yes, I got 57 eggs.
Holy crap.
57 eggs, which is abnormal. I think 14 to 20 is usually the average. So that was a lot. And that happens with PCOS because you tend to have a high AMH level, which is your egg reserve.
Did they say much about the quality of your eggs?
Yes, quality was lower. It was high quantity, lower quality. We had 57 retrieved, and then I think it dropped down to like 37 that actually fertilized.
Made it.
And then after 5 days, we had the 12, and then we sent for genetic testing, had 8 normal good ones to work with.
That's what's just so crazy about science. This whole process, it really is a miracle. I don't understand the emotional and financial toll, but the fact that we have the science to do this seems like we're living in the future. This is crazy.
Literally, I would tell my grandparents about it and be like, we have 5 boys and 3 girls on ice, and they could not even believe. Which
even that
wild.
Term on ice,
on
just like
ice.
They're just chilling, ready for
in
us.
the freezer, literally chilling. So crazy. So yeah, we went into our transfer. Some people want to pick gender, which is great. We just felt like we wanted to go by the highest grade because they give it a grade too. And so we went with our highest graded embryo, a boy, a 5'8" embryo, literally the most perfect embryo that you can get. Did our transfer, and then there's a 10-day waiting period to your blood test.
How did you manage your expectations around that? Because when you get to IVF, it's not guaranteed, but it feels pretty fail-proof when you're going through it. And then you're like, our embryo is the highest grade, and everything went smooth.
You know what's funny is I look back and I did not have anxiety. I don't know. I just was like, we're going to get a baby. That 10-day wait. I know some people start taking tests like morning and night at day 3 and like compare the tests. And I did get to that point with my more recent situations, but with Hank's transfer, it was just
cool as a cucumber.
Like we are doing IVF and we're going to have a family. And so in that 10-day wait, I didn't even take a test. I didn't realize that I really could until the morning blood test day. And I took an at-home pregnancy test. I sent Matt out to Walgreens. I'm like, go. It was 5 a.m. And I was like, okay, I want to know. Yeah. And we took it, and it was literally euphoric. Seeing 2 lines. I'd never seen that before. And it was just insane. And I remember just being like, oh my gosh, like he's in there. Like he's in there. Oh, I wanted to jump up and down, but I was like, oh my gosh, he's in there. So anyways,
oh my gosh,
so awesome. I went and did my blood test and went home, literally took a fat nap. They called me and I missed it. And they're like, we've literally never had anyone miss this phone call. It's a huge phone call. I'm like, I was asleep. I was so tired already. I was getting symptoms already. And we went to Zara literally that day, picked out his first little outfit.
So did they tell you right on the spot? Because you knew it was a boy that you put in?
Yes.
Or did you just say, surprise us, put the highest grade in?
We knew it was a boy.
Okay.
Yep. We knew it was a boy. And so we went and bought this cute little Zara blue jumper. Oh, it's so cute. I have it in his little keepsake box. It's the best.
Good.
But pregnancy with PKU was it was a lot. I was eating the same things every single day for the first few months. And I did have a couple of levels that came back that were high, and we didn't really know why. And I was freaking out because I'm like, I'm eating perfectly. I'm sending them like diet records of everything I'm eating. And they're like, this looks perfect. We found out that I just wasn't getting enough calories. Your body can go catabolic, which means it takes from muscle, and that's protein. So your level can go high if you're not getting enough calories. So they're like, eat some Starbursts. Drink some Sprite.
Get it in any way you can.
Literally.
Protein in.
Yes.
Did you have any crazy cravings that you couldn't
that was hard. My first few weeks of pregnancy, I wanted Arby's curly fries, and I could have them if I had the protein tolerance for the day. So I'd eat really low all day so I could have fries at dinner, because an Arby's fry was half or 3/4 of my day. But I was like, I'm getting that fry, like a medium curly fry. I'm smashing
look forward to all day.
Yes. So
you know what's kind of funny though, as you're talking about it, you're romanticizing these curly fries. It does make you so excited about these very small things.
Totally.
It makes you appreciate literally your food, but maybe it rolls over into life too, where it's like, I'm really treasuring this.
Totally.
You had that with PKU, you're having this with infertility, and it's like you're really treasuring these things that you have.
For sure. And I felt that with my pregnancy. Like, oh my gosh, I get to live this. It was, again, euphoric, just unreal. And Hank grew perfectly after we figured that little blip out in my calorie intake. Everything was perfect. When you get halfway-ish, it's different for everyone, but for me, it was like halfway through my pregnancy, your tolerance goes up for protein. So they started to be like, okay, you can actually have 15 grams now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
whoa, don't tempt me
with a large curly fry this time. And anyways, by the end of my pregnancy, I was eating like 40 something grams of protein. I was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
No.
With Grandma Sycamore's bread and peanut butter and jam. Oh my gosh.
Was it everything?
Hit. Oh, that hit.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Did you have anything that you had never had before?
Oatmeal.
Really?
Oatmeal. And I would wake up in the morning and go sit in the bath and put a bowl of oatmeal on my belly and be like, this oatmeal. It was the best. Oatmeal and peanut butter. I hadn't had peanut butter, and so that was...
You never had peanut butter in your life?
Never in my life. It's so special.
Did you ever want
girlies? I'm like, I get it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's so good. And like still now I make Hank PB&J sandwiches, and I'm like,
I just want to lick the knife.
So yeah. No, but I do sometimes. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So
did you ever want to just have a bite of steak just to try it?
Yeah. So no, I never have.
Meat is, even if you just had one bite, just too much.
Yeah, just too much. And I don't want to love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to love it.
Me and Sammy are both in this weird phase with meat, though.
Really?
Where it kind of grosses us out. It's like,
but we need to appreciate it more.
I know.
She's like, you guys like, have the option.
I can read the room, lady.
We're having a chicken version right now.
No, but I like make meat for my family, and I'm like, this is actually very not.
You think about what you're eating.
No, because sometimes I'm chewing steak and I'm like, there is a cow in my mouth.
There is a cow muscle.
Like just I am chewing that, so I get kind of grossed out.
Yeah, valid.
Yeah. You're not missing anything.
Yeah.
Meat sucks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, tell me that.
But Reese's, sorry.
Yeah, Reese's.
We can't lie to you about that one.
No, you cannot, and I do not expect you to because it's so special. So peanut butter was a big bucket list item. It was so good. Anyways,
how was your mental state during your pregnancy? Were you stressed about his health, doing all the right? That had to have had some type of mental toll on you, right?
For sure. I felt like the world was on my shoulders with everything I ate. We never ate out because I didn't want to risk fries being breaded in something else. You know, it wasn't worth it. And I'm like, it's my baby's health. People will be like, I could never do that. And I'm like, yeah, you could. If you're being told that your baby's development is hinging on you having a snack, you're not going to have the snack. Like, so I give myself credit because I'm like, that was pretty awesome that I did that. But also at the same time, I think most women would be like, yeah, I'll do that for my baby, you know? And his birth was wild. I ended up having a C-section. My epidural only worked for like an hour or two. I basically labored the whole time without an epidural, Pitocin, all the things. Yeah, it was great. I was failure to progress. I think it was like 24 hours or something.
24 hours?
I was at an 8 for 6 hours.
I want to cry for you.
It was so
How many
hard.
weeks?
I was 39 and 4 or 5, and they induced me. They did the cervical ripening and induction because my fluid was high or something. And they were like, yeah, we should get him out sooner than later. I was at an 8 for 6 hours. Finally, it had been 24 hours since the epidural. And they're like, okay, so we can give you another epidural and see if it works, or we can just go into a C-section. And my husband and I were like, what do we do? We felt best about just going into a C-section, which I didn't want, but we went into it. And as they were transferring me to the table, meconium was coming out, and so they were like, oh, this has kind of turned into an emergency, so it's a good thing that we did that. Yes. So they gave me a spinal tap, did a test cut. I felt it. I was like, that's not working.
Hello.
Hey. They're like, you'll feel pressure. I'm like, no, that's a knife in my abdomen. So they had to put me under and get the baby out, get Hank out. And I woke up in a room freaking out.
Like where's my baby?
They're like, he's coming, he's good. So they brought him in, and it was just the best moment of my life.
Was your husband with him?
I think that was a really hard thing for him because when Hank came out, he had a tough start. He wasn't breathing very well in the beginning. They had to have him on a CPAP machine for 10, 15 minutes or something. And I remember my husband saying, I was so torn because I was unconscious there. And then Hank was, and so he's like, where do I go? And it took me a minute to wake up. But I remember Matt was shaking, kind of a little bit panicked, and my husband does not get panicked like that. But I remember him being like, Aly, and I woke up and I was in and out of it, but I knew I was awake. And then I was fully awake when they brought him into me. And oh my gosh, he was the most beautiful baby in the whole world. I mean, biased, but beautiful, beautiful boy. So he was just our miracle.
Oh my gosh, it just sounds so traumatic. That
It
whole
was.
lead up. But then it's you have your victory on your chest.
Totally. I was like, oh my gosh, I just did that. I did however long of infertility and weighing all my food, 9 months of that. And pregnancy, like an easy pregnancy is hard.
Yes.
And it was high risk pregnancy. And he was literally perfect, just perfect. And I was like, damn, I did that. Like I just did that.
Yeah.
So I was very, very proud of myself. He was also a really hard baby. He had reflux and it was just gnarly, but we just felt so lucky to have him.
How was that transition into motherhood?
It was good. It was hard. I struggled. I definitely had postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression, more so than I think I knew I had. You don't know when it's your first, you're like, oh, I have the baby blues. Looking back, I'm like, no, I was not well. I was not well. But that was another hard thing, was that I kept being like, why are you, this is everything you've ever wanted. You worked so hard for this. Suck it up.
Like, why are you not?
Yeah. Why are you not in bliss?
Yeah. Do you feel that pressure? Because going through infertility, you kind of feel this pressure. Just be grateful. You got what you wanted. You can't complain.
Totally. Yes, I for sure felt, oh my gosh, this is everything I've wanted. Why am I struggling so bad? And it was really hard. Motherhood cracks you open. It just is like, who am I? You are no longer just you, but you also have to figure out who you are and who you are with them and without them. And it made me grow up a lot. It was hard, but so amazing.
Was there a point in that process with postpartum anxiety, depression that you're like, I need to get on something? Did it just dissipate?
It kind of dissipated. Around 6 months, I started being like, okay, I'm a human again.
And he's getting a little older, maybe not so colicky.
Yes. And started sleeping. And that was life-changing, just being able to sleep.
Oh, yeah. And just your first newborn, it's so hard in general because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You're going on no sleep. It's just a lot.
Yes. It's a lot. And it's also just wanting to do everything right for them. You're like, am I messing this up? And that's like motherhood in a nutshell. I'm 4 years in and every day I'm like, am I messing this up?
Yes.
Maybe. Probably,
it doesn't get better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, I know. It's so hard. So we kind of found our footing again. We knew we wanted more kids. I think it was like end of 2022 where Hank had just turned 2 and we were like, all right, I think we call the fertility center again. And I think we do this one more time. I had one more time in me.
Because with doing IVF, kind of like we have it made now.
Oh,
like
for sure.
Babies are on ice.
Yes.
Dethaw those babies and bring them out.
And put it in my uterus and I'm having another one, right?
Yeah.
And especially when our first transfer was successful with Hank, it was just like, yeah, we'll put one in and then we'll have a baby.
That one's the exact timing that we want to get pregnant.
Totally. Mm-hmm. So we ended up going in January of 2023 and did a transfer. Our next was another boy. Most of our good quality ones were boys. And did the transfer. And I took a test this time. I was not as patient. I took a test at like day 6 or something and it was positive. So that was super fun. And I was like, we're having another baby. I was like, awesome. And I went in for my blood draw and my HCG was technically pregnant, but it was low.
Was that day 6 or day 10 that you went in for that blood draw?
It was day 10.
Okay.
Yeah, it was day 6 that I took an at-home test. But day 10, I went in and it was 64 or something. And we're like, yeah, you're pregnant, but it's low. And I was like, oh, cool. Great. We'll do another one. Like I was 0% worried. Yeah. And all of this time I'm doing the diet and everything, of course. And my next blood result was, gosh, I get them all mixed up. But basically it wasn't good. It was going down instead of going up. And they were like, okay, this is a biochemical pregnancy, like a very early miscarriage. And I was like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Yeah. Then you got to check again. It was like, this is not right. And obviously they were right. And I was so shocked because I was like, what the heck? I'd never had that happen before. The only time I had 2 pink lines was when I had Hank and we had genetic testing done. So I don't feel like I should miscarry, And my husband was leaving 2 or 3 days later for Israel for 10 or 11 days.
Wow.
And so it was a lot. And again, that was a biochemical. It's really early, but you still have like, man, I was having the night sweat. They take you off all the IVF shots. So your hormones just drop and it just was brutal. But we were kind of just like, I guess this just happens. They didn't really have a reason. They're like, yeah, sometimes it just happens.
And so then you're starting to miscarry.
So basically, yeah, I miscarried while my husband was gone. It was not fun. I went and stayed at my mom's house because I'm like, my husband is on the other side of the world. Yeah. It was opposite. When I was awake, he was asleep. We could barely even talk.
Was it for work?
Yeah, it was for work. I mean, it was a once in a lifetime trip. I'm so glad he went on it. But
just the timing of it.
The timing was not it. So I was at my mom's house, and that was super nice to have that support because, again, even an early loss,
it's
cramping, that like it was like painful,
emotional and physical.
Well, and it feels almost, when you do IVF, you're like, okay, we have these boys and these girls, and there's 8 of them, and we just lost our boy. It feels even more real.
Yes, like having the gender too, and having a due date, it was so hard. And I just had never experienced anything like that. But my doctor was like, which is probably a fluke thing. Let's do another one. So we're like, cool, let's get ready for another one. So I took a couple weeks off of the diet, which was great, while I miscarried. And then we got into our second transfer, and we did that transfer in April or something.
It gave it a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think it was April. I think it was April that we did the transfer. Again, took a pregnancy test about 5 days, positive. Was so happy.
How did you manage your expectations at that time? Were you like, oh,
that time to be I was a little nervous, but I was like,
no way,
it's not going to happen twice. Yeah. Like we're good. And the line was darker this time, so the HCG was higher. Anyways, I got my HCG back. It was great. They wanted to see it at 100. It was 122 or something like that. And I was like, cool. Everything's great.
It was a boy this time too.
Boy, another boy. Okay. Yep. I always just had in my head, like, I'm going to be a boy mom, because we wanted 2, maybe 3 kids, and they were all boys. All the good ones are boys. I was 6 weeks and 6 days. And we went on a walk as a family, got home, and I just started bleeding. And I was like, oh my gosh. We were freaking out because that didn't happen with the last one. And I was like, this can't be good. So we went to the ER. In hindsight, I know now the ER does not know much about this stuff. Went to the ER, and we did an ultrasound, and we saw a little fetal pole, which is a little baby with a heartbeat. And we were like, oh my gosh, his heart is beating still. Oh my gosh, what? And they were like, yeah, everything looks okay. We don't know why you would be bleeding. I had an appointment the next morning, my 7-week ultrasound, which is like the big ultrasound in IVF to see if there's a heartbeat. So we went home middle of the night.
Still
and like,
bleeding?
Yeah, still bleeding. And heavy. Like, it was a lot.
Because you could have hemorrhages or things like that where the baby could still be okay.
Right. Yes. So I was like, maybe that's what happened. So we went home, and I was like, I have my appointment tomorrow. So we went into the fertility center, and I told them I'd been bleeding, went to the ER, but we saw the baby, and they went to check. Sorry, I'll get emotional. This one was really hard. And we saw the baby in there, but no heartbeat. And they do the ultrasound where you can see the red is where there's movement and heat and blood flow, and it was just all blue, and there was I could just tell, and it was so quiet. And I looked at my husband like, this is not happening, just so quiet. And the ultrasonographer was like, I've got to go get someone else to confirm, but it's not looking great. She walked out, came in with someone else, same thing, just nothing. And we were shocked because we had just seen him,
Oh my gosh, Aly, that is so traumatic. Like, I cannot even imagine.
It was a lot. And
because you know exactly when. It's like my baby was alive and now he's not.
Exactly. I remember going home and getting in my bed and being like, I don't want to be in my bed because I know this is where it happened. This is where his heart stopped beating. It was pretty dark, and I did a D&C for that one. They kind of gave me the choice, and they were like, sometimes when you have a natural miscarriage, you don't pass everything, so you have to have one anyways. And I was like, oh, let's just do the D&C. So we did a D&C, and we decided we're going to take some time off. We found what's called adenomyosis in my uterus, which is basically inflamed uterine walls. There's inflammation in the walls. So yeah, I didn't really understand exactly what it was, but they were like, yeah, we can do Lupron shots. It's basically puts you in menopause for a couple of months and it can calm down the adenomyosis, but it's a couple months of shots. So it'll be a couple months of being stagnant, not doing anything. And I was like, oh, all right, whatever. So we did them and I took the summer off and it was actually really good for me. We went to Mexico, just me and my husband, and it was like, oh, a breath of fresh air and being like, oh, I'm going to eat what I want and I'm going to have the summer for me. And I did 3 months of the Lupron shots, went in to check to see if I was ready for another transfer. They're like, oh, you need 1 more month of the Lupron. Like, oh my gosh, just insult to injury. I'm like, what's another month? But also
it's another
rude.
month.
Another month.
Sucks so bad.
So bad. And so they're like, okay, we're ready to go. Let's do another transfer. So we did another transfer in November of 2023. And I took a test at home. It was positive. It looked great. Went in and did blood work. It was great. It was over 100 again. Awesome. Went in again and the number rose, but it didn't rise adequately. They want to see it rise a certain amount. I think in 48 hours, they want to see it go up by 1.6 at the minimum. And it didn't, I can't remember exactly. But they were like, yeah, it went up, but it didn't go up enough. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. And then you're in what's called beta hell. Beta is the HCG test. So you're in testing hell, basically, where you're just waiting. They're like, yeah, we'll test in a week. And so for me, I'm like, cool, I have to go weigh all my food, not even know if it's worth it. It's just like, oh my gosh. It was
just like the anxiety of, is this baby going to take it? Am I going to have to experience what I went through last time?
Truly, it was just a nightmare. So anyways, we went back in, did a blood draw, and it shot up. And they were like, oh, it looks good. And anyways, that pregnancy was up and down, up and down, up and down so bad. And it was Christmas time. Everything was just, it was just brutal. Christmas is just really hard for me. But it was December 20th when they finally did a blood test that said, okay, it's finally dropped. At that point, I was so done with the yo-yo that I was like, I want it to either take or be done. Mm-hmm. Seriously, I can't do the yo-yo thing. And especially through the holidays. We're doing all these gatherings. I'm like, I don't want.
And everyone asking and everyone talking. And then Hank, you want to make him feel special.
Exactly. And, oh, see, I mix up all of them. At a Christmas party at my sister-in-law's house, I started bleeding. And I was like, this can't be good. Anyways, we went in, did a blood test and an ultrasound. Wasn't good. So yeah, it was just the craziest thing ever. And it was December 20th. I went in on the 21st and had my DNC.
No.
It was just crazy. I was like, I haven't even wrapped presents yet. But people were amazing. That's another thing is I really do feel like just the people that I had supporting me really did just hold me up. And we got through Christmas. It was not the best time of life, but we got through Christmas and I was able to hold on to, okay, I have Hank here and I can just make his Christmas magical and do everything I can to be in it right now. And at that point, I was like, I don't think I can do this again. It had been, I don't know, 10 months.
You did all those shots and everything. So did that even help?
That's what I felt. I was like, what is going on? I think at that point they were like, don't know. I don't know. It's like unexplained. Yeah. And that was another boy too. And so I kind of had this gut thing that was like, this isn't going to work. But I talked to my husband and I was like, we should look into surrogacy. And my husband's like, that's not an option. He's like, it's very expensive.
It feels so unobtainable. When you say that surrogacy, it's like, okay, we're not millionaires.
No, literally. Yeah. My husband's like, we can't do that. There's no way. But I knew, I was like, we have more babies and I don't know
how they're getting here,
but somehow. And so my husband's like, well, maybe we try a girl. Maybe we're supposed to have a girl. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Maybe we are supposed to have a girl. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen.
And all these times you have to pay.
You have to pay. Yeah.
Every transfer.
Yeah. Every transfer. To give you an idea, an IVF transfer, this isn't getting your eggs out or anything. Egg retrieval and all that is like 20 to 30 grand. But an IVF transfer, when you have the embryos ready to go, just the transfer procedure, not any of the medications or anything, just that 1 hour where they put it in your uterus is $6,000 just for the transfer. And then you have medications that are super expensive. So
your appointments, your deductibles,
yes.
like
PKU food on top, you know. So it was just.
So you're just looking at that number at that point.
Right. Like I just miscarried $15,000.
No, but really, yeah.
Somewhere around that. So it's just crazy because I also felt this horrific guilt of sorry. And obviously I know that I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Yes.
But you do feel, I'm like, gosh, my poor
so much
husband.
pressure on these freaking women where it's up to you, but you have zero control.
Zero control.
And you're like, I will do anything, literally take everything from me.
Yes, totally.
And it's still not enough.
Yep. You have no control.
Yeah.
And so we decided, hey, let's try, girl. So we geared up, did it again. It was our 4th transfer in, I think, 10 months.
Yeah. So is this point January?
Yeah, this was, January, end of January. So it's been a year. Yep. A year, 3 miscarriages. And we transferred our girl. But when we got there, this is super interesting. People don't really know this aspect of IVF, but they were like, okay, so we went to thaw your girl and it didn't survive the thaw. My embryo didn't survive the thaw. It just didn't. And so they're like, we had to thaw your next one, which I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm glad we had a next one because can you imagine if that was our last one and it didn't survive a thaw? And I remember they kind of were like, so it didn't survive the thaw. And I was like, what? I was taken back.
Punched me in the face. Give me a second.
Literally.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you had like 2?
Literally. It's crazy.
And then you have to go through the whole process again to even,
Yes. So I was like, oh my gosh. So at that point we had Hank, 1, 2, 3. And then the one, we were on our 6th embryo and we had 8 total. So we put in the next
2
girl.
left.
So we had 2 left. Yes. And we basically were just like, all right, let's try it. Did it. Long story short, miscarried. It was another biochemical. At least it was shorter. I didn't bleed. I didn't have to have a D&C, which was nice, I guess. I don't know.
Your weird thresholds probably go so skewed.
Totally.
Where it's like, okay, well, it's
At
a
least
chemical.
this, but
Right.
it's still hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess when I say I didn't bleed, I mean, that wasn't our first sign because the trauma of everything's fine and then you bleed is the worst. Obviously, I miscarried, but it was a phone call of like, hey, it doesn't look good. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I had my natural miscarriage at home. And at that point, I was like, I'm done.
Like, I'm done.
I'm done. It was 11 months, 4 miscarriages. And I was like, I'm out. And so I told my husband, we've got to figure something out because I'm not done.
How was Hank during this point? Did you feel simultaneously guilt? I'm going through this. I'm trying to be there, present.
Yes, it's all consuming. He spent so much time with my family. They helped so much. And I'm so grateful. There were many times where I said, Mom, I can't today. I just can't. And I would just lay in bed and she'd come pick him up and go take him and to do something fun. And he's so lucky that he has them. And I'm so lucky that I have them. But I felt like I'm trying so hard for this miracle. And then I have actually one in front of me. And so what is wrong with me? I felt like he's right here. Why can't you just be happy? But I just knew
that you had more. I need to fight for these babies, but I have a baby. Oh,
yes. And we did not tell him. Well, we told him about the second pregnancy, the second miscarriage. We had told him that we were pregnant because everything was looking good, whatever. And after my D&C, we had to tell him like, hey, it was for sure the worst moment of my life. We just had to be like, hey, baby brother isn't in there anymore. And he cried, which was so weird because he was so little. And he said, I want my baby brother back. And I was like, I'm out. So we didn't tell him anymore. And luckily he forgot about it within a few days. He was 2.5 and he has never brought it up since. I'm like, I hope he doesn't remember that. But I will always remember that. And my husband.
Like you get so many scars along the way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Where it's like, they're still there.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll never forget that moment. But I basically was like, I know I'm done here. I know I'm done. And I was like, surrogacy is our only option.
So I mean, start with that. Like you say that, and it like, feels like you're the Kardashians.
Yeah,
like,
no,
it's like
actually, I'm like, who do I think I am? What? I went to a Facebook page called like Utah Surrogacy Information or something. I went there, and it's a group, and there's just people posting hi, this is me and my spouse. We need a surrogate for this reason. There are other people saying, hi, my name is this. I'm looking to be a surrogate. I'm located here. So it's kind of like a matching group. Literally feels like dating. It's so crazy. Anyways, we looked into some insurance, found out that we had a little bit of coverage, which was great.
With surrogacy?
Yeah. Wasn't like a ton, but it was more than
nothing.
Yeah. And so we're like, you know what? Maybe we can do it. And so I just kind of got to work and I was staying up late, just scrolling and figuring everything out.
All these girls' profiles, seeing
totally,
who would be a good match.
And we ended up posting when we decided, okay, we're doing this. We're going to try this. We posted on Instagram looking for a surrogate and it blew up. It got hundreds of shares. I got hundreds of messages. Wow. It was wild. I just kept thinking, am I going to get a single
It feels
inquiry?
like a needle in the haystack of finding a surrogate.
Totally. So yeah, basically got a ton of messages of amazing women.
Of women who were offering themselves up or people who knew someone?
Both. Mostly women saying, I've always wanted to do this. I would love to chat.
Wow.
I was just in tears for days. Just like, how is this happening? There was one girl back after my Christmas miscarriage when I was saying, hey, I think we need to do surrogacy. And my husband's like, what? We aren't the Kardashians. I had been kind of scrolling through Utah surrogacy stuff and I saw one girl. Her name was Megan and she had been a surrogate before and she just looked like the perfect. She's so cute. She had twin daughters and had been a surrogate before. And I was like, I'm going to just pick her brain. And this was before my fourth loss. And I was like, hey, I'm curious about surrogacy. Can I ask you some questions? She's like, yeah, for sure. I asked her a bunch of questions. She answered them and was like, good luck. You know, long story short, we did another transfer, miscarried a fourth time. And so then, you know, we're back in this boat of, okay, we're actually going to look. We post. I get a message from Megan. Oh, I'll cry. Sorry. And she's like, hey, I saw your post and I remembered our conversation and I would love to chat. And I was like, can you come over? Where do you live? She tells me where she lives. She lives down the street from me. I'm like, what's happening? She literally lives 5 minutes away from me. I'm like, come over. So she comes over and my mom actually was at my house at the time leaving and my mom passed her walking out and my mom texted me and was like, I just got the chills passing her. That was crazy. And I'm like, okay, mom. Okay. Don't put too much stock.
Yes, so hard.
I'm like, okay, we'll see, you know. Anyways, Megan sits down and the crazy thing about surrogacy is you're like, nice to meet you. Let's talk about all the hard things. You have to agree on a lot of things to be a good matching point. Obviously, a price point. You have to agree on a lot of controversial things. I mean, you have to, it's in the contract. At what point would you abort? Would you abort if there was a defect or anyways, you're talking about these big things. And I'm like,
hot button.
Yes. Everything. We were just right in line. And it was just like, are we meant to be?
Yeah, like, I have a crush on you.
It was literally 5 minutes and I was like, I'm good. Should we do this? I told her, I said, give it some time.
Was your husband in on this conversation or was it just you two?
He had a work call, so he couldn't, but he was there.
So he's kind of like, you go figure it out.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah.
Tell me
He's like, let me know if it's, literally, yeah, just let me know how much money we need. No, but he was just kind of like, once there's a serious candidate, let's chat. And she left and I went into Matt and I'm like, dude,
this is it.
I want her to carry our baby.
Had you talked to anyone else at this point?
Yeah.
And it was just
but we hadn't, I did have a meetup scheduled with a girl and I love her. We still talk and she's now being a surrogate for someone else, which is the best thing ever. But she didn't have surrogate friendly insurance. There was a couple things where I was like, I don't know, but meeting Megan, it was literally like, oh, this is meant to be.
Divine intervention.
Truly. Yeah. Truly. And so basically I said, give it some time. I'm not going to ask you to meet me and 5 minutes later tell me you're good to go. I was like, just text me whenever. And she texted me the next evening and was like, I feel really good about this. I talked to my girls. She had 13-year-old twins, but she's like, yeah, we all feel really good about this. Let's do this. And I was just like,
were you kicking your feet?
Oh
just
my gosh. I was like, is this real life? So yeah, we matched, got my lawyer on the phone. I was like, we have someone. And then we start the legal process of writing up a contract, which our contract is like 58 pages long or something.
Wow.
And
because you have to lay every
hypothetical ever you have to say. I mean, a lot of it is financial, but some of it's not. A lot of it is like, okay, how much will you pay if something happens and she loses a fallopian tube? Or what will you pay if she loses both? Or what will you pay if she has to have a hysterectomy? You know, just that kind of stuff. Or do you want her breast milk? And if you do, how much does she want per ounce? And just the craziest things. And what kind of relationship do you want through this? Do you want to talk? Do you want to not? Do you want to go to appointments? So many things. So we got a contract done.
Was this a contract that's normal? Your lawyer is like, oh, let me whip out the surrogate contract.
There's actually slang for it. No, he specializes in that. Surrogate law, adoption, I think, is kind of his realm.
Okay.
So that's what he does.
So he knew.
He's got a template that he sends you and you fill it out.
And did she kind of guide a lot of this because she'd been through it before? Where
she
she's
was
like,
very
with my
helpful.
Last family, I did this.
Yes. I'd be like, hey, what about this? And she's like, oh, well, my last contract says this. So let's just put that. And it was awesome. So that was a huge perk because I also was like, what is this world? It's a different world. And so we also had to do psych evaluations. She had to have one alone. I had to have one alone. Matt had to have one alone. Matt and I had to have one together, and then we all had to have one together.
Wow.
Because you guys have to prove that you're fit to be parents, even though it's your baby.
Yes. And that's a whole other thing is you have to do a home study. Like once your surrogate's pregnant, you have to send in pictures of your house and your carbon monoxide monitors. And it's so crazy to be like, yeah, we can bring a baby home here. It's so crazy. I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to be forking out this money who isn't fit to be a parent. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we jumped through all the hoops and got the clearance from Utah Fertility Center. They had to do a physical type of thing, make sure that she was a good candidate and everything was great. And we got a transfer on the books.
Because you were going to do your last 2.
Yeah, so we had 2 more left. So we were like, all right, let's throw our best one of those 2 in. So we put that one in. It was a girl. And I didn't know at the time for sure if it was a girl or a boy because there was a boy and a girl left. I had a hunch and then I found out later that it was a girl. But did the transfer and got positive test day 5, I think.
Okay.
She took a test at home and then went in, did the blood test. It was great. It was in the hundreds.
I hate this.
Groundhog Day?
Yes.
Yeah. It's wild.
Like the day 5, the HEG.
It's trauma. It's crazy.
And then you have to relive it and relive it and relive it.
And it's so hard because you want to tell yourself it's going to be different this time, but you just...
And how can you stay calm and have faith that it's going to all work out while protecting yourself that it might not?
Exactly. People would be like, be positive. And I'm like, have you... That's a whole other thing.
Then
the things
even when it
say.
starts working out, how do you not spiral and go to worst case? Because worst cases happen
a million times. Totally. So everything was looking good. And we went in for our 7-week ultrasound. And it was the same thing where they looked and it was a little bit tricky because they could not tell if there was a heartbeat yet, but there was a baby. And so they were like, it might just be a little bit early. Let's just give it a couple days. So again, I'm in waiting. Yeah. But I kept telling myself, she's not bleeding. She's super sick. All things are pointing to being fine. So we went in 5 days later and there was no heartbeat. And oh man, I actually think that one was harder because of having Megan. I felt so guilty that she was in that position. It's so painful. And I knew that she was feeling guilt for me. We were both more worried about each other than we were for ourselves. And that was really hard because I was like, I've been through this 4 times and now you have to go through it because of me. That's not fair. So the huge aspect of my spiral at that point was I'm putting her through this right now. Mm-hmm. But I know that she was worried about me. We were just worried about each other.
Which is weirdly such a beautiful human experience. It sucks, but the love, the connection, the compassion that you're experiencing in that moment is like, we are human beings on this planet and I'm experiencing this emotion right now.
It is compassion and sympathy and empathy like you wouldn't believe.
And just the selflessness on both parts, that you guys are more worried about each other when you just lost your baby and she's going through this.
In hindsight, it was meant to happen because I think it made us stronger together. Mm-hmm. She had a D&C that weekend, so I was there for that. And she had never had anything like that before.
Because this was her first miscarriage.
Yeah. Okay. And so she had her D&C. And I remember her waking up, you're just so groggy. And she said, I can't believe you've done this 4 times. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it kind of hit me in that moment. Like I said, she has daughters. And I was like, this is going to change a lot of lives. This is really hard. But what if someone in their world, like their daughter's friends, have infertility, have miscarriage? This is creating a compassion and an empathy that is just really special. And I was like, you know what? In the grand scheme, I was really angry, obviously not at Megan I was just angry at the world. But I also knew this is going to help a lot of people. And I also knew that I had no control. And I knew that more so then than ever. I have no control over any of this. The only thing that I can control is how I go about it. I didn't really realize that until maybe September. That miscarriage was in end of July. August was really dark for me.
After the first miscarriage, were you like, oh no, our chance is ruined with this? Or was it like,
yeah, I was do it stressed. Again? Well, I knew we were going to do it again if Megan was down for it. I was also like, do you still love me that I made you do this? Like, do you want to do it again? Because if not, it's cool. I'm cool. I will not blame you for this. But she was like, yeah, let's do it again. She's just the coolest. But I knew I wanted to try again. But then again, the naivety of surrogacy is going to work was definitely taken. And I was like, okay, we're anxious again.
Like bad things can still happen.
Totally.
Even with like the ideal candidate.
Exactly. So we had one embryo left now, and I think it was like a 4 BC. It wasn't the worst quality, but it wasn't the best quality. And we were like, we have 1 shot left and it's not our best shot ever. Do we do another egg retrieval?
Oh no.
So we did another egg retrieval.
Also, like, what does your husband do?
Here's the thing. We had coverage on another egg retrieval. That is the only reason we were able to do it.
Okay.
Because we went to the doctor and had a little powwow. And she's like, you have coverage. This egg retrieval, you'll only really have to pay for meds. And we were like, why would we not do that?
Yeah.
Like, why would we not do that?
We're paying for the surrogate. We want it to be our best shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's just do it. I knew it was going to suck, but I also knew more than anything that I had more souls. And so we did another egg retrieval, and it was hell. It was so bad.
Yes.
This was September of 2024. So just this last September. I overstimmed again. They got 78 eggs.
No. Wow.
Yes. Everyone in the clinic was like, what? It was wild. I was so ill. No. I gained about 30 pounds of fluid in
Aly,
2 days. I've got to show you guys pictures. It's crazy. If you would push on my body, it would stay indented because I was just fluid. I couldn't, TMI, get on and off the toilet by myself for like a week. Oh. I was sleeping in a chair. This was so crazy. So it's where they go in and drain fluid from you. I had to have it 5 times.
Oh.
They say like with severe OHSS, you have to have a paracentesis sometimes. I had to have 5. And all of those paracentesis is, how do you say that? Like, yeah, what? And all of those, they got about 13 or 14 liters of fluid total. So 1 liter here, 3 liters here. It was insane. And the paracentesis, they go in vaginally. Sorry, hate that word for everyone, but we're saying it.
Hate it most for you.
Hate it most for me. And drain fluid
Did they put you under for that?
No. They did not. They gave me something that made me a little loopy, I guess. But yeah, it was brutal.
What was that time frame?
How long did it last?
Yeah.
It was 9 days before I was able to like put on pants again and stuff. I was wearing big sweat. Like, it was insane. I was not functioning. It was 9 days before I was like, okay,
I can get off the toilet by myself.
Yeah, I can go to the bathroom by myself. Which, again, I mean, all of this, I'm like, woe is me. I'm not trying to be like that.
No,
but
are you kidding
crazy.
me? You say woe is me, girl. You
It
say
was
woe
crazy.
is me.
I'm not trying to
No, girl, you're the victim in this.
picture, but it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. But I did it, and so I'm really proud of myself. I would never do it again.
Yeah, you're like, no.
I would never do it again. But we got 78 eggs. We got 19 embryos, which is psychotic. 19. So they're like, yeah, we'll send them for genetic testing, but we can only send 10 at a time because people don't usually get more than that. So we sent 10, and
even
10,
the genetic testing, isn't that a lot of money to send them off?
Yeah, I think it's like, I feel taggy throwing out numbers, but it's like a couple hundred per embryo.
Okay.
So for us, it was like, let's just give it the best shot. After everything we'd been through, why would we not genetic test, you know? Mm-hmm. So we genetic tested 10 of them, and all 10 came back normal, which was crazy. We got gender counts, but I didn't want to know which ones were which because I didn't want to have that looming over me. If I lost, I didn't want to know. So we have all these embryos, and Megan's like, let's do it again. So we're like, all right, giddy up. Let's do it again. So we did it again. Beginning of December 2024. Do another transfer. And she was pregnant. But the level was low. It was like, I don't know, 50 or something. And they're like, we'll test again in a couple days. So,
and they put highest grade
we had 5AA, best quality embryo. So we were like, yeah, this is it. December 20th, same day as my DNC. Or same day as when we found out the last year, December 20th, we found out that it was a miscarriage. It was like, what's happening? Again, I felt just this guilt for making Megan go through this. Now she's having a miscarriage over Christmas, which I knew what that was like because I did the year before, and it was just insane. It was insane. So that was number 6. And I was like, is this just not meant to happen? I'm excited for this Christmas because I'm like, I'm like, I need all new decorations. I need new vibes in my house for Christmas. I was just like, I don't know what we're going to do anymore. We met with the doctor. The doctor seriously was like, well, you know, they say to give it 3 transfers before you move on from a surrogate. So I'm like, Megan, please, where you at, girl? Like, are you okay? And anyways, she's just the coolest. And she's like, yeah, let's do another.
Oh,
is she real? So we're like, okay. And she's like, what do you think about putting in 2? Megan says this. And I'm like, well, it's the only thing we haven't tried, you know? And
do they know why she miscarried the last 2 times? No. Okay.
They were just like, yeah, statistically, it just happens. I'm like, does it happen 6 times?
Statistically?
Yeah. So we talked to my doctor. They don't normally like putting in 2. Because
they try and talk you out of that?
Yeah, they generally won't do it because it's like basically choosing a higher risk pregnancy, which is why we never did 2. And with that December loss with Megan, we thought about doing 2, but we're like, it's not right. Like, let's just stick with 1, stick with low risk, low anxiety. And so anyways, this time we're like, this is a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Doctor's saying 1 more with Megan. Megan is a dream. I don't want anyone else to carry my baby. It needs to be Megan. I love her. And so we're like, all right, let's put in 2. They're like, okay, we have a February 3rd available. And I'm like, well, Matt and I will be in Mexico. And they're like, that's fine. You can do that. I'm like, cool. I tell Megan, we're going to be in Mexico for the transfer. Is that okay? She's like, that's actually crazy because with my last surrogate baby, the transfer was in February and the mom and dad were in Mexico. And I'm like, done. We're doing it.
Did you like anything?
I'm like, yes, let's do it. So we transferred to February 3rd of this year. Matt and I were in Mexico. I was sitting eating tacos. I had these 2 tacos and I get a text from Megan of the 2 embryos, the pictures side by side. It was so good for me to be away from it. Just having a little bit of distance. It was so good for me. And I told her this time, I said, let me know if you take a test, but take 2 and make sure they look good, you know, and then you can tell me when you've taken a test. Because the other times she's taken them and I knew she was taking them. So I was like, just surprise me if it's good. So she texts me and she's like, hey, I took this yesterday and then I took this one today. And it's a dark line. And then the next day is significantly, like almost darker than the control line. And I'm like, it's happening. But the anxiety, she gets a blood test and her number is in the 400s.
Wow.
And so we're like, that's high. That's pretty high. So her transfer with her surrogate baby that she had 3 years ago, her number was also in the 400s. So I was like, I don't know, maybe just one stuck. So we had this 2-week wait before we could go in and see how many gestational sacs were in there. So we go in at 5 weeks and 6 days. And the whole clinic knows this at this point. I've just been lapped by everyone, which is fine. Everyone at the clinic I love. But they're like, hey, just so you know, we know your trauma. We're not supposed to see heart activity today. All we're expecting to see is gestational sacs and maybe blobs that are babies. And so we go in immediately, 2 gestational sacs. So she's like, okay, it's twins. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I start recording at that point. And then she goes, oh, look, 2 heartbeats.
Oh, the best sound ever.
Literally was the most amazing thing. We couldn't hear them yet. We could just see them. It's like a little flicker. But to see 2 babies, oh my gosh. It was just the best moment. Being handed Hank and that moment, best moments of my life. No question. Oh gosh, I'll cry. So we're like, oh my gosh, we're having twins. It's happening. Then we went the next week and heard their heartbeats, like audibly heard them. So strong, so perfect. We checked on the babies a couple times after that before we found out gender. With everything, we were just like, let's just wait a little longer. We hadn't told Hank anything. Our families didn't even know that we transferred. We told them. Yeah, it was the best. I was like, you know what? We're just going to put our heads down and get through it. I felt bad taking everyone on this crazy ride. Anyways, we found out they were girls. It was the best thing.
No. Oh my gosh.
So you had no idea. We had no idea. We had no idea. We just said put in the best 2. I think we were 9 weeks when we were finally like, okay, I think we feel safe enough to get the genders. So they put them in envelopes. I went over to the local bakery and I said, there are 2 genders in here. Can you just do 1 blue, 1 pink, or, you know, just correlate it? So they put the donuts in a box and I went home and Matt and I opened the box together and I kind of knew that it was going to be girls. I felt girl vibes.
Okay,
I was like feminine energy. I just felt it.
Mm-hmm.
Megan has only carried girls.
When she has twin girls.
She has
so
twin
special.
girls.
Yeah.
Just the best thing ever. And so watching them, I love watching them. I follow them both on Instagram. When I go to Megan's house, I see them. And I love watching them. Her girls are identical, but their personalities are so different. It's so cute. It's just, oh, it's so cute. Yeah. So it just feels so right that she's carrying her girls.
Cool, that is probably the best part of her life. And the fact that she gets to give that to somebody else is so cool.
It's literally the best thing. Oh gosh, I will literally cry.
I know.
It's the best.
Like, I need a minute. That is just so beautiful. You can't write even a movie that beautiful.
It's true. Sometimes I'm like, is this happening to me? Is this my actual life? And anyways, we are now, as of today, 14 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So it has been just the journey of life.
2 baby girls, twins,
2 baby girls
coming. When are they due?
October 21st is their official due date. They'll probably come beginning of October, end of September, maybe. So yeah, fall.
Oh, October babies are the dream. Like,
oh my
September,
gosh.
October, I feel like is perfect.
And then just snuggle in for the winter. Oh my gosh. It's going to be amazing.
I'm so freaking happy for you. And you freaking deserve this.
Oh, you're so nice. I'm so excited. It's going to be chaos for sure. And that's not lost on me. People are like, do you know what's coming? I'm like, yeah, but also I know what I'm leaving behind.
Yeah. And do you also know how hard it worked for
Yes.
This? Every single person I've talked to who has twins loves it. I have not heard a single negative thing about twins.
Right. I definitely know it's going to be challenging. Obviously, it's another baby. But after everything we've been through, I'm like, how can I feel anything except for like excitement? Of course, I have moments where I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I was Marco Poloing my friend today and she was wearing her baby and I was like, oh, how do I
like one on back, one on front?
Where I get a little stressed, but I'm like, we're going to figure it out. And we're leaving that chapter behind us. And so...
Well, and Hank's a little bit older now, and
yes,
so
he'll be 5 when they come.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that'll be amazing. He'll be the best big brother. So you told him.
Yes.
What did he say?
Oh my gosh. He was like, what? Like he was so excited. He's like, I'm going to be a brother.
A big brother to take care of his little girls.
It was the best thing ever. He is determined to name them Tom and Kevin. Stay tuned. He's like, Tom and Kevin or Pee Pee and Poo Poo. So I'm like, cool. Awesome. Great contenders for us. But he's so excited. We went to Walmart today and there were these little onesies that said little sister. He's like, what does that say? And I told him and he's like, we have to get 2. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Don't pull my arm.
Yeah, seriously. So he's so excited and it's going to rock his world a little bit. But it's going to be so amazing. And it's just all meant to be. I feel like I look back and I changed as a human. I am not the same human as I was in January of 2023. I have made new friendships. I have lost some friendships. Everything has just evolved and worked out exactly how I know it's supposed to be.
How have friendships been? That's a good point.
Here's the thing about infertility. And you feel this. You feel this sense of isolation. I feel like I fell off the face of the planet for most friends because I felt guilty, feeling upset. We're in the phase where everyone's having babies. And every time someone was pregnant, I mean, I was super happy for them, but I was really sad. That's like the hardest thing to navigate because I felt like such a bad person being like, this is such a good thing happening for them. Why are you sad? But I got to the point where I had to know I was happy for them, but I was sad for me. And those things are allowed to coexist. And there were times where I couldn't go to baby showers. And I hate that because I want to be the biggest cheerleader ever. I want to be the girl's girl. I was able to do that. I remember I went to one of my best friend's baby showers when we were trying for Hank. And it was hard, but I went. But when you're losing babies, that's when it starts.
I just lost my baby. I can't.
And I'm
be
like,
here right now.
Well, watching you open presents or talk about the one you're having, which I'm so happy you're having that baby, but I've lost mine. And so basically a roundabout way of saying friendships were difficult, but because of my own doing too, because I just had to tune out. I was in some dark, low places. I got Hank into bed and I was in bed. I was not doing social hour. I was like, I'm barely alive and I'm going to get in bed. I didn't show up amazingly in friendships, and some friends were okay with that and some weren't. And I understand why people weren't, and I understand why people were. I get it. But I also know everything I was doing was for sheer survival.
What do you feel like helped during those times? Because at 4th, 5th, 6th time, you're pissed at the world. People are like, oh, okay, well, what's next steps? What's happening now? Or, you know, trying to comfort you or be there for you. For me, at least, when I get bad news or a cycle fails or whatever, I'm like, literally, don't look at me, don't talk to me. I shut everybody out, and it usually only lasts a day and I can bounce back. But obviously this is 10x. So were you allowing people to show up for you, or what helped when you felt so much anger and so much pain?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do feel like it was a little bit different every time. The one moment that I will never forget was our 5th miscarriage, our first with our surrogate. I texted my friend and said, it's a miscarriage. And actually, my mom had to come pick me up at the fertility center because I literally couldn't drive. She came and picked me up and I left my car there. We pulled up and one of my best friends, Haley, her car was at my house. And she got out and had just one of her kitchen glasses with water and cut flowers from her garden. And she was just sobbing. And I knew that she
didn't go to the store. Like, she just grabbed anything she had in that moment and she showed up. And she sat on my driveway with me and swore and yelled and cried with me. And she just let me feel whatever I needed to feel. And that was huge. I feel like just allowing people, like, when you feel that, that's so valid to be like, don't talk to me. Just letting people feel the things that they're feeling and not trying to shut it down and not saying, well, at least you weren't that far along, or at least no, this sucks, and let me be in this.
This is a joke. I'm going to jump off a cliff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also her just validating that. I'll never forget that moment of just that glass with flowers from her yard. And I was just like, she showed up.
Because it's just so hard, even on the friend side, because I feel like there's kind of this, you're pushing against each other. You're going through so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to fix it, make it better. And you're kind of like, do something to make it better as my friend.
Yeah.
But then there's nothing either of you guys can do.
Yeah.
It just is devastating to relationships and friendships because there's no rhyme or reason.
Totally.
And I'm sure for her, she's just like, give her something. Come on.
Totally.
Life.
And like I said, I was not putting a lot of effort into friendships, into relationships. I wasn't going to get-togethers. I was in a bunko group and I literally left the group chat, not in a malicious way. I just was like, I literally can't deal. Right now. Yes. And it meant a lot to me when people didn't take that personally.
Yeah.
However, if people did, I mean, I get it. But at the same time, I just really appreciated when people could be like, I've never felt that feeling, but I can imagine that it's not great. And she's dealing how she needs to deal. And just giving me grace.
And the good friendships will survive that. Like, they could weather that storm.
1,000,000%. I learned who my people are. And I'm so grateful for that. And just having sympathy, being like, I've never been there.
I love even just talking to you, how much awareness you want to bring to it, because it's so much more than just, I want a baby right now. It's the financial aspect, the relationships, the mental toll, everything that it does to your life and changes who you are. No one wants to not show up for people or not be a good friend. You at your best, you're not vibrating at the same level that you usually are.
Totally. I always say, imagine that you're in a group and you're all doing a group puzzle and everyone's doing a puzzle. Everyone has pieces to the puzzle except for you. Everyone's working together and putting together this puzzle and you just have to watch. And that's what it was like for me to go to gatherings. And I would never be like, don't talk about your kids. Don't talk about your pregnancy because hello, that's your life. Yeah. Talk about it. And that's why I would just withdraw because I'm like, I'm not going to ask people to cater around me. That's not fair. But if I can't handle it, I'm just not going to go to the puzzle party. If I don't have a piece, sometimes it's better for my mental health.
And realizing it's a season.
Exactly.
Because like you guys said, the friendships that really matter will withstand the storm.
Totally.
And then in a year, you're going to have freaking 3 puzzle pieces, the biggest puzzle pieces to show up to these parties. It can switch into, I have more to give. I want to nurture these relationships. I want to nurture these friendships. And realizing it doesn't have to be that forever.
See, and I have this fear. I love that puzzle party analogy, by the way.
We
like
love
that.
Oh, we love
puzzles. You know, my next girl's night. I'm like, guys, I don't have a piece.
I don't have a
like, what do you want me to do here? Let's stop talking about nap times. Come on. But also, I have this fear. So let's say I make it to the end of the journey. I have 4 kids and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've arrived. I'm at the party.
Yeah.
I'm scared I'm going to be crawling back to the party with my tail between my legs. Like, hey guys, I know I've been MIA or whatever. I have my piece. Can I still play?
Totally.
And maybe that goes back to those friendships will survive and those friends won't judge you. But I've done a lose-lose situation where I'm like, if I actually say how I feel right now and I don't handle this the best right now because I'm in this darkness, the lightness is also going to be ruined because I'm going to look back on this time and be like, I wasn't there for you when you had your baby, or I wasn't there for you when you were going through motherhood. And now that I'm in motherhood, I'm expecting you to pull out all the stops and show up for me. So it just feels like a lose-lose where I'm like, no, I have to push through. I have to fake it. I have to pretend like it's not hard for me to hear about motherhood, and it's not hard for me to hear about your kids, because I'm scared I'm going to miss out on this time and not be there for you, but it's still freaking hard.
I'm just over here like, yes, because that's the other thing. Again, that's something that I would have maybe done differently, is communicated more to people that, hey, I'm doing my best, but I'm really actually not okay. And so I need to take a minute, and it's not about you. I mean, it is hard because it's like, how do I expect people to support me when I couldn't with that? It's really sticky.
But from the outside, if you were to be like, oh, okay, now I'm having my twins and now I feel like I can't, I'd be like, oh, are you kidding me? You were going through the hardest time. And of course, your friends should rally around you now. It's not an issue. It's like an internal thing where
for sure.
You feel that pressure of either way. The path that I thought my life would go down is ruined now, because I don't feel like it can be authentic happiness. The same thing of, okay, now when you do have kids, you can't complain that it's hard because you wanted them so bad. And so it feels like that journey has to be catered a certain way.
I wish there was a handbook
yeah,
for all of this, because it's just so hard. I think the bottom line is that the friendships that are meant to stick it out will. I think a huge thing too is just self-awareness and being able to, if there was a time where you felt like you weren't supporting her in something, you could come back and say, hey, you know what? I was going through it. I'm sorry. And vice versa. This is just the theme of everything, but just giving grace. This is what I've learned from this whole thing, is everyone has their own set of cards, and we don't actually know. That's the thing, is people know my cards because I shared them. But how many people have experienced miscarriages or things and they're not sharing them?
Yeah.
And I have just gotten to this point where I'm like, we never know. And I know that's so cliche, but every time I'm on the freeway, I'm like, is this car going to a funeral?
That's the beauty of going through shit.
Yeah, totally.
You have this insane empathy now.
Yeah.
So what inspires you to share? What inspired you to be public about all of this?
The isolation is otherworldly. Again, you don't have a piece to the puzzle, right? And you feel like you're the only one until you're in the Facebook groups, the infertility support groups, you're in the surrogacy support groups, you're in repeated loss groups, and you're finally not the only one. And I was like, you know what? If someone can stumble across my page and be like, I'm not the only one, if one person can do that, that's why. Because again, I was in dark places. And also, it's really easy to make yourself a victim in your head when you think you're the only one who doesn't have a piece to the puzzle. And I think that's another thing that the infertility world, it's really easy to fall down the victim rabbit hole, because, hi, you are a victim. You didn't choose to be doing all of this. I didn't choose to be doing all of this. So yeah, you are. But again, you have cards, and it's all about what you do with them. And for me, if I can make someone else feel like there's a puzzle for them that they have a piece for, I'll share it.
I love that. And we say it over and over again, but there's so much power in vulnerability and connection. I've shared a lot of my journey on TikTok. I'm not as brave to share on my Instagram feed.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So I had this imaginary world, and then they'll be like, what? You got the scan today? And I'm like, oh no, everyone in my life can see this page, you know?
Yes. You're like, oh, it's public.
It is public. But also, just like, yeah, I'm talking about my periods, and anyone from high school can just see this, and it's fine. But it literally has changed my life, being open about it and talking to other women, because in my close friend groups, all my friends are moms, and I don't feel like I have that connection with anyone where they're like, no, I get you. And so sharing has been so helpful. But also for you who is sharing, know someone who's in the semi-beginning stages of it, like, it is so powerful. Hearing your story is so helpful, and the advice that you have, like, you're already helping us and me in my life, like, just by sharing your story, just by talking and telling us about your life, which is giving it so much more meaning than if you were to whip out 2 kids and be done.
Thanks. That's really sweet, because I think people who have followed me throughout all of this can attest. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think it's been easy to see when I've been in dark spaces. And I think it's been that much sweeter because people have seen how dark it got. And I do think it's important to know, and this goes for everyone, whatever the journey is, no one ever has it easy all the time. And I'm sure people are like, she shares for attention, or she's such a victim, or da. I'm like, okay, whatever, bye.
No,
but
literally bye.
The whole sharing, that's why if there is one person that can feel benefited from it, then it's worth it.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? Give everyone a puzzle.
So now that you've made it to this point, I've heard you say little things here and there throughout this conversation, but what do you feel like the whole point of all of that was? Do you even know at this point?
I think I have a lot of questions about life from the last 2.5 years that I know I'll never like get answers to, at least in this life, or I don't know. Do any of us know? I don't know. But I think that I grew so much. I'm a different mom. I'm a different friend. And of course, there have been times where I've shown up as a mom, as a friend, as a wife, where I can look back and be like, I didn't show up great in that.
Blame it on the PKU.
I'm like, my levels are high. Sorry. But I think it's changed me in every aspect, every role of my life. I'm different. And obviously, I have empathy for people who walk this same road, but my biggest thing is to try and have sympathy for people who are walking roads that I know nothing about.
Yes.
Because so many times I wanted people to give that to me, and they could or they couldn't. And I want to have empathy. I want to have sympathy. I want to give grace and just love people no matter what road they're on.
It's so interesting doing this podcast too, because we've had people on, some people that we've known and some people that we haven't, go through different things. And you guys walk in here and you've been through so much, but you have this energy that is so light, so positive, so kind. And it's just crazy because hearing everything you've been through, and then you show up here and it's just a different breed of people. And you say, I'm a different person, but you journeyed through this deep, dark cave and came out this lighter, happier person. Obviously, we didn't know you before, but it shows that resilience is
Palpable.
That's
it really is
sweet. Thank you. I mean, I will say there are a million hard things you can go through that will do this, but infertility, it broke me down to the studs, and I had to rebuild something that I am proud of, and I'm getting there. It's always a work in progress, and I mean, it'll always be. You'll never be delivered to exactly who you want to be, I don't think, but this helped me a lot getting closer to that.
Is there anything that you would go back and tell yourself now when you were just beginning to go through infertility, or even your first loss? What would you tell yourself?
Just that I am capable of so much more than I knew I was. If I went back after that first loss and said, yo, you're going to have 5 more, I would have been like, bye. Like, I'm out.
Literally cannot.
Can't. And I think that goes for everyone, no matter what road you're on, what road you're facing, what puzzle you don't have a piece for. You are just capable of so much more. People will say to me, how did you do it? I could never. And I'm like, you could. If you have to, you do it.
That's what Sammy says all the time. I have to do it.
Yeah. It's like you don't really have a choice. You have so much strength inside of you that you don't know it's there until you have to just
keep
tapping into it and pulling out strength, and you think you're empty and you find a little bit more. And humans, we're resilient as hell.
Looking at these situations as opportunities to tap into that and grow, it really is a perspective shift where you're like, wow, I was able to go through this and now I have all of these things. You lost a lot, but you also gained a lot.
Exactly.
I don't know your religious beliefs or spirituality or anything, but losing those babies, what are your thoughts on the afterlife, or how do you get through those losses, or what's your perspective on that?
That's a good question. You know, I don't know if I know my religious beliefs either. I think every day it's a little bit different, but I have had many moments, specifically with this pregnancy with the twin girls, that I have felt my babies that went before, and other people, my great grandma, I felt her. I know that for whatever reason, I'll never know, this had to happen, and they're guiding me. And I do believe that I will meet them someday. I'll hold them. Someday I'll hear 6 little voices that say mom that I don't recognize, but I will know like the back of my hand. So I'm excited for that day, and I feel them with me a lot.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, they're my babies. I'm lucky that I got to be their mom.
Yeah, they're lucky to have you as their mom.
You're very sweet.
So are you going to be in the room when your twins are born?
Yes. So she'll have a C-section.
Okay.
And yeah, Matt and I will be in there.
I just cannot get over that image of you finally seeing those 2 little girls.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's super emotional. And I know that all the other babies will be there too somehow, you know. I don't know how that works, but I just know that they'll be there. And so many people who we can't see, they'll be there.
And it's crazy just you having dipped so low to have these high highs. You go even higher the lower you've been, the higher you can reach.
Yes.
It just makes me, and I'm sure so many people who love you and follow you and your family and friends are just going to be on cloud 9 for you on that day, and it's just watching you be a mom to those babies.
Yes. I mean, the support and love we felt when we just announced them, it's so special. And you can't have a rainbow without some rain.
Yeah.
Right? Now we get 2 rainbows because we had some rain.
Rainbow, literally.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That makes me so happy for you. So how are you navigating these next few months, just preparing, getting ready for those babies?
There's so much to do. There's obviously legal stuff still that we are needing to do. I just went through and cleaned my house and took pictures of my home. I was like, Matt, where's our carbon monoxide monitor? I need to send in a picture of that. And then I'm going to have a baby shower, which will be so freaking fun. And just gathering 2 of everything is a little bit wild because I know it's going to go fast. They'll be here in 5.5 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is really fast. So just gathering as much as I can and just spending as much time with Hank as I can, just me and him, because it's going to change.
Yeah, you guys will have a really fun summer together. Soak it up.
Yes.
Go out, do all the fun things.
Yes, lots of parks, lots of snow cones, all the fun things, because it's just me and him for a little bit longer. And then we get girls in the house. What? Pink.
gosh.
All the pink is crazy.
The boys are going to be outnumbered. Who would have thought?
Hey, it's about time.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
So
Your girls
sweet.
can listen to this
Thank you.
someday and you just
too.
realize the road that you were on to get them here.
They will never
If they're
have to
ever
question.
mean, give them my number because
I'm like, hey,
Here's the link.
This podcast. Come back and apologize.
yeah, when they're just sweet teenagers.
Yes, and you know what? We'll get that. But at this point, we're welcoming all the things.
Yeah, you're like, I'll take it.
Yes.
All of the good,
Yes.
bad, the ugly.
Yep.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming on.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. My gosh.
This conversation means so much to me, and I really want you to know how much you're doing by sharing your story and
thank
just
you.
having empathy for people who don't have it as hard as you and who haven't been through as much as you is everything.
That's very sweet. And you know what? Like I said, everyone has their thing. It's never a contest. We all are shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this has been the best.
Thank you, Aly. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.